The Daf Yomi started here many years ago, and as the years went on, it grew to a tremendous crowd.
In the wintertime, we have a lot of people here. It's probably the largest year in North America. We must have about between 80 and 100 people here every morning.
They really involved. There's an engagement with the crowd. It may be a large crowd. It's just a beautiful sight to see.
I have been learning in Daf Yomi since 1989. So I've been through the cycle several times.
And I'm now doing my fourth round of Daf Yomi.
It'll be 34 years when we finish this one. That's number 5 for me.
I started Daf Yomi 30 years ago.
I would say since the 70s.
Probably about 40 years. Learning Daf Yomi is part of my life every morning.
In the beginning, I wanted to find out that I can go through HaShas and find out what's in there. Afterwards, it became a habit, more than a habit. It had to be done. I wanted to keep on learning.
And when you have a broad gestalt of learning, then it makes whatever you learn more meaningful and more relevant.
When you get older and you go into a routine, it has something to affect on you.
Don't ever give up, always start. People say it's difficult to understand, difficult this, and it is difficult. If you try, you're going to make it.
Don't wait. When you're going to be 50, you'll be able to tell your children, your Einiklach, I finished HaShas 5 times, 6 times, and that's a beautiful, beautiful record to have, for forever.
Over there in Zavachim, we had this line too.
It was a time when many young Jews were abandoning the traditions of their parents and grandparents. They equated Torah study with humiliation and poverty, from which they sought to escape through socialism, communism, and secular Zionism.
There was no future, really, in anything it has to do with Torah.
Ihnen sind wir sehr zerbrochen, sehr niedergeschlagen. Sie suchen wir, was drüben abgeschätzt. Sie haben gesehen, ob es allein Jid. Sie haben gesehen, dass jeder, der sich keuch ist, hat eine Sache Energie. Er stellt sich in schöpfliche Schwierigkeiten. Aber das ist allein ein größer Chiddush. Aber jeden bewundert, wir sind gekommen her. Das ist, als alle Brüder over nicht gewinnt, was in Polen. Das ist nicht gewesen.
At the Great Congress of European Rabbis in 1923, known as the Knesset HaGedolah, presided over by the Chafetz Chaim and other Gedolim, Rabbi Meir Shapiro presented his vision for the Jewish future in the form of 2 proposals. The first was to elevate the honor of Torah students everywhere by building a yeshiva where they wouldn't have to beg for their basic needs.
Als der Bocher gekommen, Kaloch, lernen in der Yeshiva, hat sich allein gedorfen schaffen, Westen, in Schloffen.
Maar jinge Bucholach, man gewollt das. Man gewollt das.
Als Nockenfarmera, habe ich gekriegt an dort zu schlafen.
בחורים אוכלים תיק וישנים בחנויות בתור שומרי לילה, כשבעלי החנויות סוגרים את התריס מבחוץ ונועלים אותו.
jeden Tag hat schwieriges Nummer. Der war gewusst, hat Beute gewesen, mit Kaffeeregel an der Rosch. Genehme Beute gewesen, mit gut was zurück mal. Beute gewesen. Schalile das nicht etwas rausgenommen.
Gestanden in der Gebot Yeshiva, sie gestanden allein.
He was not only building yeshiva, he was building a new reality.
7 talented students and I studied together with one teacher until we reached the age of Bar Mitzvah. Then, to my good fortune, Providence led me to find an appropriate place of Torah at the home of my grandfather, the Gaon and author of the Minchas Shai. As for my 7 friends, it was their lot to suffer a painful life of eating teg and sleeping on benches. They were unable to withstand this test and were lost to us. It was then that I made a vow to myself to correct this historic wrong towards the youth who study Torah, and the idea of Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin was born. As for Rav Meir's second proposal, he called it Daf HaYomi, uniting observant Jews throughout the world by studying the same daily page of Talmud.
Rav Meir Shapira came to the session of Moetzes Gdolei HaTorah with the idea of Daf Yomi, and they rejected it. Why one daf a day? Everyone has to learn a few pages a day.
לא רצו לקבל. היו אנשים שאולי מצידם בצדק, ראשי ישיבות שפחדו שהלימוד בבקיאות יהיה על חשבון העיון.
So Rav Meir Shapira asked them, okay, so it will not be a decision of Moetzes Gdolei HaTorah. Can I offer in my name? Said, this, yes, this you can do.
To believe that such a dream became a reality, to come to the MetLife Stadium and to found almost 100,000 Yidden celebrating Siyum Shas, even the most optimistic dream of Lubliner Ruf, Rabbi Meir Shapira Zitzal, wouldn't reach this climax. Mazel tov!
The Lefkowitz Mishpacha is proud to join the Agudas Yisrael of America and help sponsor this great celebration of the Siyum HaShas. We join in many wishes to the Mesaimei HaShas and their families. May they bring much nachas to the Eibishter and Klal Yisrael.
As a son of a Talmud of Rav Meir Shapiro and Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin, who attended the first Siyum HaShas by Rav Meir, I am honored to wish Mazel Tov to all the Lomdei Mesaimei HaShas of this Machzor.
It was in 1990, I remember it was in the middle of Sfira because we did not have any music to play behind us, and they had a choir. One of the memories I have is that besides being nervous because we were singing for over 20,000 people there, my mic wasn't working. and Baruch Hashem, I was able to be thrown a mic in the middle of the singing, and it went well from there on. Baruch Hashem, it was a Gevaldik Kveit Shemayim. The Tanker Rav Zechron Levracha was a Talmud of the Yatzei Chaim. He was living in Flatbush, and we used to be Shayleitza with him almost everything. And I told him, we're going to be singing at the Siyum HaShas, and I told him, I said, it's something that we're all emotional about, and we're all nervous about, Amos of the Tzibura, such an Eilim. So he said to me, he says, you should do it. He says, I'm going to be mispalled that everything should go well. As right before the program started, I made a phone call from the floor of the garden to his house, and his daughter answered, and she said, my father's in the middle of saying Tillim. So I said, good. The next one was First Day Slichas, and the idea then was Machnisei Rachman. Perfect. the chiddush of that siyum was that at the Mazel Tov, there was specifically, I was given 11 minutes, and spontaneously, a couple of people on the dais, and then subsequently the rest of the garden, everybody started getting up, and they started dancing spontaneously. It sounded like they were basically banging on the floor, and it was incredible. And I'm in my earphones, I'm being told by Yosef Chaim Golding, go on, keep on going, just keep on singing. It says 11 and a half minutes fell by the wayside. I think we went almost 20 minutes. So the next time it became scheduled, it was not the same, that's for sure. The next time, the niggun that we had chosen for that one was Rabbeinu Shalom, Kamesha Kovash Avram Avinas Rachman. And we were singing it in the garden. They asked me to sing it in the Continental Arena also. So I started out in the Continental Arena, and I had a police escort that took me to the garden in the city because they wanted to make sure I'm there on time. It was cool, I should say the least. The MetLife Stadium was a complete different story. I mean, that one we had to be there the day before to practice. So we had a choir of a number of my sons, and we sang Kad Yasvin Yisrael. I closed my eyes and I just sang, Baruch Hashem. Then the Mazel Tov, of course, just, there again, of course, everybody started dancing, but you didn't see each other. It was so big. Baruch Hashem. So Baruch Hashem, it's some legacy that the Aguda has, and I'm certain they're going to do much better on the next one. Mi'etz Hashem. People think it's all about yourself. It's an obligation. It has nothing to do with who you are and what. It's just singing for a Klal Yisrael. It's not stam. It's not different than a drasha, and really, in a certain way. Why? The drasha is delivering a message to Klal Yisrael, and you marry people with the right thing also. It's not just singing and I sang at the HaShas. That's everything. It's an achrayus. Generally, before I daven, I always say tefillas. All these things are only tools of the Rebbeinu Shalom, that's all. So the Siyum HaShas Mikolshkin, it's definitely a big achrayus, and you have to make sure there's to be a real Kvod Shemayim out of it. We're all looking forward to it. Mi'etz Hashem, we hope to be mishtatev to make the Kiddush Hashem that it should be.
Nearly 7 years ago, I had the schus of attending the great Siyum HaShas in MetLife Stadium. I had tried doing Daf Yomi many years ago, about 3 sessions ago, and I just was falling asleep late at night. I didn't have when to do it. Please understand, I have a shir to prepare for. I have 2 other Gemaras to learn in the Yeshiva Shemesechta. I have Shmusin to give, and I'm a little bit busy. But it just didn't happen then. And at this Siyum HaShas, there was a wonderful Kolrom video, which had a plumber on there. And the plumber said, "This is my 4th time I'm finishing Shas." That was to me a tremendous wake-up call. I'm working in the yeshiva. He, the plumber, is finishing the 4th time. I never did it. I never had the schus of learning Yisrael as a bacher. First, many bachrim in those days didn't go, and second, I was home with my mother until I got married. So I didn't really learn kachim be'iyun. And kachim was many parts of it. I learned certain parts of it, but many parts of it was foreign to me. I said, Bender, he, the plumber, finished 4 times, and you didn't do it once? When am I going to do it? I have a chavrusa, I'm learning the yeshiva. When am I going to do it? And I found time. Nearly every wedding I go to, between the chuppah, from the chuppah and on, till the first dance, I find a corner to learn in. Most of the caterers know me already, and they give me a place to sit and learn. I use it in the different times, and I have a chavrusa to learn it also, and I try to chazer it. I am so ecstatic that Be'ezer Hashem, next year, I'll be completing Shas. I can't tell you how thrilled I am. Directly coming out also from the Siyum HaShas and the video that I watched last year. Furthermore, when the Lakewood Rosh Yeshiva, Malkiel Zayin Stark, made a Siyum, I said, Bender, you're busy, he's busier than you. And he found time to do Daf Yomi. If he found time, you could find time. And I'm finding time. It's hard, it's a pressure cooker some days, and some of the Gemaras are very difficult. You got to really go through it again and again and again, but I am flying high that I have this opportunity to complete Shas. I'm grateful for the last Siyum HaShas, and I'm excitedly looking forward to the next Siyum HaShas. What a wonderful feeling. I cannot describe it. It just brought so much simcha to me personally.
Bike ride from Detroit, Michigan to Lakewood, New Jersey for the purposes, the alleged purposes, for raise money for our local Patach. And because I was raising money for Patach, my wife said, go out and raise big bucks. So I went, and in my bicycle I had pannards, rear pannards, front pannards, right in the handlebar, and a fruit pattern in the back, which was insulated. And in there I took, because I was going by myself, in bicycle jargon, it's called an unsupported ride. Totally unsupported, I'm going by myself. So I had to take tools, I had to take equipment, not only tubes, but I took tires, and of course I took clothes, a change of clothes, and I took my talis and tefillin, and I took a Gemara, and I took a Chumash. So I had to take the Chumash so I can keep up Shnai Mikra, and I took a Gemara to keep the Daf Yomi. And what I would do is I get up in the morning, and I would daven, and I would be Maver Sedra a little bit, and I would learn the Daf Yomi. And one time, my wife called me, and I recall this, it was a nice motel, somewhere in the middle of Pennsylvania. She says, it's 10 o'clock, why aren't you on the road? I said, it's 10 o'clock, I gotta finish the Daf. So I would hit the Daf as much as I could, and then I got out on the road, packed everything up, and then put on my minimum 50 to 75 miles that day. What you learn from is life has bumps in the road. There's always going to be bumps. and you gotta keep peddling. Keep your Gemara with you, and just keep on pounding away, and keep, Chumash of course, and keep on peddling up the hill and into the rain. And then you come down on the other side, and you just keep on going.
The Daf HaHaim has brought the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch to the fingertips of those that study the Daf.
Now it's easy to learn the Daf with the bottom lines. In the past, you'd have to go to the bookshelf and find the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch. Here now we have it in one book that we can open up and put in front of us to get the bottom line. My advice is everybody should get a copy before they're not available anymore, and your Daf Yomi experience will be enhanced.
Time is 5:52. Moshe Weinberg, and we're on the way to Shul to learn. I give a shiur right now. Just started as a chavrusa with my brother, and one by one people came and attended the shiur. Now we got about 8-9 people there, and I could see the difference of people, the questions they asked. 10-15 years ago, they were asking very simple questions, and now they're asking much deeper, much better questions. They understand that they've been growing, and they're different because of that. Their families are different because of that. And it's a beautiful sight. Baruch Hashem, we have yeshiva now, we have Beis Yaakov, which we didn't have when I first came here. It's a different type of people that you attract when you have learning, and they have a place with nice space medish, and they have a koil there. The yeshiva is a beautiful place to learn at nights.
$11 or $12 years ago, I was in yeshiva with somebody from here, and I came here one summer, and I decided that this is the place I wanted to live. I go to work every day, start work usually around 6 o'clock in the morning. I go to school also in the evenings, and I don't get home sometime till 8 o'clock. And then I go to Night Seder, part of Kinyan Masechta group. We learn from 9 to 10, and sometimes a little later after. Right? So what is it talking about over here? My learning just keeps me going. It's the real life.
I've lived in Minneapolis for the last
8 years or so. I learn in the evenings during the night seder with the kollel 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday. It didn't start that way, of course. I think my first chavrusa was 1 day a week for half an hour. I'm a much different person now than I am when I first took on my first chavrusa.
This has always been a very unique out-of-town community.
People now realize that it's a full Torah community. It has all the trimmings. It has yeshiva, Beis Yaakov, has everything.
It's clear that the impact that has affected so many people is limud haTorah. That's what it's all about.
You feel the warmth, you feel the Torah just vibrating throughout the community. It's just so present here.
And the learning is really the catalyst, because when you're learning, you're part of something bigger.
I've heard this from so many people who visit. They're like, wow, like I'm blown away by the warmth. It's real here. It's real when I walk into these walls.
Yeah, Minneapolis is the place to go. The best place on earth. Couldn't have chosen a better place to live.
Come to visit, but not in February. Tell them to come by in July, and they would see a beautiful community. If you want to come in the winter, they'll enjoy it, but that you have to get used to that.
Giving the shiur is one of the highlights of my day. It's amazing. When I went into it, I really wasn't sure I could do it. I was used to learning a daf over a couple weeks, but a daf a day.
And many people have prepared it. They've gone over the daf, they've looked it over, they maybe have questions, sometimes too many questions, it may be a large crowd, but there's always questions and people are engaged. It's just a beautiful sight to see. There's over 100 people there. It's very exciting for the Maggid shiur itself.
But once you give a shiur and there's questions, there's always more things to think about, more things to be prepared. And you also have limited time to present. That's the biggest challenge, is to be able to do it in a short range of time and let them walk away with something, with a fundamental understanding. You have to know as much what not to say as what to say. So again, you can have three possibilities.
It's difficult to find the time during the day to prepare the daf. It takes time, and it's crucial to be familiar with the daf before I give it. I can't possibly give over a daf in 45 minutes if it's not fluent. If I'm fumbling around during the day, very often it's not possible. Sometimes I end up preparing the daf at 12 or 1 in the morning. Sometimes I'm too tired. I go to sleep and wake up at 3:30, 4 to be able to make sure that I have I have that time. So the responsibility that I know that tomorrow morning I am giving this shiur, come what may, I have to prepare it, that has been extremely beneficial.
I don't take vacations I really limit when I go to a simcha, whatever, either you have to come back before or I just skip it. I have to work around it. It's a great sense of accomplishment, both for myself and as well as the listeners, the learners. Goes to a zar eating it, the problem is the truth.
My wife has been an unbelievable partner, but I believe she's not unique among the many wives that encourage and want their husbands to grow, and ultimately it reflexively comes back on the whole family.
The typical question when I come home is, so how was the daf today?
She encourages me every single day to go. She's proud that I'm part of such a chashuv shir that has so many chashuv people who learn daf every single day.
I would not have the encouragement and the support of my wife on a day in, day out basis, this wouldn't happen.
When a person's successful and happy with his learning, his wife knows it and sees right through it, and she encourages him when he's down or he doesn't want to go, he's not feeling so well, his wife will thereby encourage him to go do it, because I know you can do it.
Sometimes it gets a little tough, it's early in the morning, or you had a late night tonight, or you were away in business, you're coming back. And if I miss or I attempt to miss, the wife's like, go.
Because there's no way I could do it without her. She's stuck with 4 kids in the morning, and my kids wake up around 5:30. So she's dealing with them all by herself. So all the credit goes to her.
I work and she works the whole day. I'm sure she will learn. I should help more at home, and then she knows that when I learn, she tries. She in the kitchen disturb me, and it's all her credit.
I'm home roughly about 20 minutes at night, maybe a half an hour at night, to eat supper, say something to one of my kids, talk to my wife, and I'm out the door. And only because my wife understands the importance of learning Torah and the importance of Daf Yomi and the importance of consistency of Daf Yomi, and am I able to do this, and that she runs the house. And I'm sure there's many, many, many other women in Klal Yisrael that have a chashivas for this, and if not for them supporting their husbands in learning and understanding that a balabas has to do this consistently, Daf Yomi wouldn't accomplish what it does.
once a week have a chabura that we chazer the daf. Each person has his own assigned daf, and within an hour's time, we actually are able to chazer a week's worth of shiurim in 1 hour.
The ordinary we have
a chabura where we chazer over the daf yomi for the whole week, once a week. Everyone has a daf, and everyone's responsible for the same daf every week. And we each have about 8 minutes to go ahead and say over our daf in shakal v'tarya. And in an hour's time, we're able to go over the daf for the whole week.
We want to leave the vice possession.
If it happened in a year when there was
both of can't be from all of the chazim.
Our goal really is to go over the daf yomi. And the point is so that we just didn't go through it one time and then it's gone. We at least had a chazara over the daf yomi. It's been now close to, I think, 10 years that we've been learning together.
When you're doing something meaningful together with people and you've done it for close to a decade, I think it naturally brings people together.
With this chabura, we're actually like family.
We've been to each other's bar mitzvahs, we've been to each other's chasnas. Chalila, we've unfortunately had other things together that we've dealt with.
The Gabi knows one person of the chabura gets a Misha Berach, he automatically, just like you say your wife and kids, he says it, everyone in the chabura with you.
In other words, you have to return it in Leah Peres.
It forces me to not just chazer, but completely know back and forth at least one daf of the week. At least 4 times I have to go over my daf in order to say it over to the chabura.
You have to be able to say it over to 6 people who are Talmidei Chachamim, who are familiar with the daf.
Every week I'm always Monday.
My day is Tuesday.
Wednesday.
I do every Thursday.
My day is Friday.
Mine is the Shabbos of the week before.
Sometimes if you're just doing it by yourself, you could say, that pshat was a little difficult. I'm not really sure if I understood that. You're like, all right, I think I understand that pshat. But when you have to say it to somebody else, you really want to make sure that you understand that pshat.
For a kaddish of things, a person can't be makam all as a chazir. About a year and a half ago, we actually had this klus as a group to be Messiah Shas.
It's nice to have all the family there, not just my family, but the family of the whole chabura.
People flew in from California, people flew in from Florida, and for all of us to come together, it was over 100 people. And we all got together, 7 big mishpachas, beautiful mishpachas, as well as some of the rabbanim that were in town and some of the rabbanim that we had. It was really a big Kiddush Hashem.
I think one of the most touching things was the presentation to our wives, of giving each wife a present for what they have to give up for us to be part of the chabura. It's a mesiras nefesh on our wives for this chabura. I've grown tremendously from this chabura. I definitely recommend it.
Everyone can do it. They just have to have the dedication.
It really doesn't take much. It's not something that we have the trademark on. It's not copyrighted. You just really need one person to solder everything. And I think all it takes is 7 guys that want to get together, that have the achrayus and the schayvus to come together every Shabbos, and you can do it in every community throughout the world.
Meir Shapiro, as we know, astounded Klal Yisrael with one of the biggest speeches ever.
At that time, Rav Meir Shapiro was a relatively young Rav. He was not yet a Rosh Yeshiva in Lublin, and he wanted the Chofetz Chaim to announce it. So the Chofetz Chaim said, let's work it this way. We'll start the session. You walk in late. I will stand up for you when you walk in, and everybody else will stand up for you to accord you the proper respect. And this way, when you get up there to speak, everybody will listen.
When the Chofetz Chaim stood up, everybody knew that this person is somebody to listen to. And that gave him a lot of the koyach that he had. And he made the announcement about the Daf Yomi, which took everybody totally by storm.
Rav Meir Shapiro felt that a Yid, no matter where he is or where he's going or where he's coming, if he has some common thing to talk about, to discuss in Yiddishkeit, that's going to be the glue that keeps Klal Yisrael together. And that's why they decided that if everybody's learning the same Blat Gemara, no matter where a Jew is on a train, on a ship, wherever Yidden go, they always have something to talk about with another Yid.
It wasn't just happenstance, coincidence, that Rav Meir Shapiro got up at the first Knessia Gedolah of Agudas Yisrael and proposed that all Yidden from all different backgrounds should study the same daf the same day, wherever they may be. That wasn't just coincidentally that this was proposed from the podium of the first major Agudas Yisrael function. It had to be, because the ideal of bringing Yidden together through Limud HaTorah, by everybody learning the same daf the same day, by everybody, whatever their backgrounds, whatever language they speak at home, whatever their customs and traditions, however they affiliate or identify, but nonetheless coming together around Torah, around the Blat Gemara. That's the ideal of Agudas Yisrael. Agudas Yisrael was built to bring Yidden together from all different backgrounds, and to bring them together under the banner of Das Torah, and now Limud HaTorah. Those are ultimately the unifying forces of Klal Yisrael.
We are really the inheritors. We're the Yorshim of everything that happened. That has been the sacred duty and obligation of Agudas Yisrael to run the Daf Yomi program ever since that time.
At that time, Frumkeit in Eastern Europe really was on the siege. And that, in the eyes of the Gedolah Torah, made it very, very important that there should be something called an Agudas Yisrael, where everybody gets around one table to solve Bayat HaOlam al Pi HaTorah. That was the mission of Agudas Yisrael.
So I'll tell you two things that were started by Agudas Yisrael that Baruch Hashem been very, very matzliach and continue to this day. One of them was the idea of a night-based medrash. The first one was actually in the Lakewood Minyan, was started by Rabbi Yaakov Bender under the guidance of Rabbi Yisrael Belsky, and they started learning at night in the base medrash.
And Rabbi Belsky had this dream. He paid a few kollel guys to be available to learn with people, and they pushed people into the Batei Medrash, and that's when the Lakewood Minyan started, where it became fashionable for a Yid, after he came home from work, to go at night to learn. It was unheard of in those days. It's so hard to imagine today. Every base medrash worth its salt today, that davens 3 times a day, has people learning in it. But it was not 40 years ago. It wasn't so.
One of the shurim that we started is pretty famous, known as Rabbi Yisrael Reisman Shir, right? Rabbi Reisman Shir. How did Rabbi Reisman Shir get started? So the way it happened was that there was Pirchei learning in the Mir Yeshiva at Motzai Shabbos, a regular, beautiful Pirchei learning for hundreds of kids. And the fathers would come drop the kids off, and after they dropped the kids off, they would just sort of hang around because, it's Brooklyn, there's nowhere to park, you can't go home, you can't stay there. So you just sort of, once you park the car, So somebody came over to me and said, I have an idea, why don't we make a shir for them? I said, what an idea, whoever thought of that? It was a chiddush, but okay, let's give it a try. And it turns out he knew this younger man named Rabbi Yisrael Reisman, and we asked him if he would say this little shir, and we said we'll have 6 weeks, and then we'll take a break for Hanukkah 2 weeks, and then we'll have another 6 weeks with a second person. So I went over to some of my friends, and I told my friends, I said, listen guys, I'm making a new shir, I don't want to be embarrassed, and could you come one time? I'll never ask you to come again. And Baruch Hashem, 35 years later, a lot of those guys are still coming to the shir. And that started a whole revolution of Motzai Shabbos learning, which up until then was really very rare. There's so many other shir now in Motzai Shabbos. Baruch Hashem.
Our goal is to keep every Jew connected with Torah, whether it's with Kviyasitim Shiurim that we organize, whether it's teleconference calls, whether it's conferences, whatever it is. We try to make sure that every Yid knows that his day-to-day life, he's first a Yid, and then he's a professor, then he's a lawyer, then he's a doctor, then he's a plumber, then he's an electrician. Whatever, he has to identify himself as Yid. And how does he identify himself as Yid? Is by having a kesher with the Torah. Agudas Yisrael is the platform where any Rov, any Rosh Hashiva, any Rebbe, no matter what type of Marbas Torah he is, whether he's Litvish, whether he's Hasidish, whether he's Sephardi, has a platform to speak to all of Klal Yisrael.
When you dream big, you always have to start small and do little by little by little, and then it grows. So whether it be Shurim, whether it be Bate Midrashim, whether it be, a HaShas, all these things start out with just a few people and then grow into something big, into something Baruch Hashem legendary.
My father took me, I was 7 years old, to the Siyum HaShas. It was 2 times ago. I was a bocher. And then when they made the Siyum, everybody got up to dance. I was standing there on the side. I didn't want to dance. I didn't finish. It wasn't my simcha. Then people asked me to come join them in their circle. I started crying, like, it wasn't my simcha even. Why should I dance? But I made up. I met Shem. Next the Yomi Siyum, I'll be a part of the dance. Baruch Hashem, now I'm finishing the second time.
We had attended hookup of 2 Siyums ago, and my wife and my kids the next day came and said, Abba, we really want you to learn the Daf Yomi. Said, and we'll get up and get to school and we'll make it easy for mommy. My wife said, and I'll make sure that everything gets done so you have what you need so you can go ahead and learn in the morning.
I used to learn in the morning 20 minutes with Rosh Koilo, and that's it. At night, maybe I had a chavrusa for a while, but I wasn't really interested. I was busy. One day, my brother calls me up and he says, Moshe, they just started the Daf Yomi today. Why don't you come tomorrow? I said, you know what? Let me think about it and I'll be there tomorrow. And I started going, and it was a challenge. And I said, I'm going to do it. And now I'm about to finish the second cycle. And I could tell you that it changed my life.
Don't wait. Start when you're in your 20s. When you're going to be 50, you'll be able to tell your children, your Einiklach, I finished Shas 5 times, 6 times. And that's a beautiful, beautiful record to have, for forever.
Try it, you will love it.
Just start. If you find difficulties, try to figure out how to work around them, but don't give up.
What Daf Yomi has taught us is that a person can be kaver themselves each and every day and accomplish a great deal in their learning. You could do it in Talmud Bavli, that's what Daf Yomi did. You could do it in Talmud Yerushalmi. You could do it in Shulchan Aruch. You could do it in Musar. You could do it in Tanakh. A person who sets a time to learn every single day and to advance in their learning every single day, such a person is going to be Mekayim Talmud Torah on a greater level every day of his life.
The shifty booklets, it's giving you that information that you were learning in yeshiva, concentrated, be learned in a shorter period of time.
The Smichat Chaver program is a program set up to teach Bali Batim Halacha L'Maisa in a very structured curriculum.
The Dirshu program, for me, getting up in the morning, being part of a Chabura, learning together, Masechtas, making kinyan on the Masechtas with the Chazar, with the Bechinas, really makes a big difference in my day and in my tzruaviyat.
I'm part of something much bigger. I may be learning just the first 10 blot, and together we'll finish a Masechta, or a Seder, or even Shas, Be'il.
To be kind of Masechta, to know that after 120, this is my Masechta.
Well, now I've been learning Daf HaShavua, and there's a special geschmack from it, and there's an incredible amount of material for any level of learning.
Wishing all the Messiahim and all of Klal Yisrael a heartzik mazel tov and bracha v'atzlacha b'kol yanim.
I want to wish Mazal Tov to all the participants in the Siyum HaShas. It's a tremendous honor and privilege for us as Aral Capital to be able to be a sponsor in this momentous event for all of Klal Yisrael. And as we say when we do a Siyum Adran Alach, every participant in the Siyum should merit to come back many, many times, to learn many Masechtot, and to help improve Klal Yisrael towards Mashiach.
I'm deeply grateful to the officers of Agudas Yisrael for giving me this incredible opportunity to be able to speak to all of you at the greatest Asifa L'Shem Shemayim that we have in this universe. I'm thankful as well to Mr. Duvi Gross, who has been involved with the Siyum HaShas, for telling me this most remarkable story that I'm about to share with you. A number of years ago, in 1994, it was decided in Germany that they would allow a memorial to be built. It was going to be called the Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe. They had over 200 artists and sculptors in a competition to see who could come up with that ideal memorial that would represent the murdered Jews. It took a while, and eventually a fellow, Peter Eisenman, presented that he would have 4,000 gray slabs of stone. They looked like monuments, except there was nothing written on them. Some were tall, some were short, some were close to each other, some were a little further from each other. But it represented the nameless millions that Nebuch were murdered. And they were about to construct it. And then an incredible thing happened. A law was passed that when you make a memorial, it has to be wheelchair accessible. So they went back to the engineers, and through the computers, they had to figure out how many slabs could they put there, but there would still be available pathways for people, all kinds of people. They had to remove so many slabs that eventually the amount of slabs that are there today are 2,711. The exact amount of dafim in Shas. The Germans, Yamach Shemam, they tried to get rid of us. They tried to get rid of Torah. And yet now, every blot in Shas is remembered because that is really our life. And you know what occurred to me? Every one of us is a Masechta. You know, there are some Masechtas that are bigger and longer, and then there are those that are shorter. Every one of these Masechtas have Parakim, have chapters. Some are longer, some are shorter, some are more difficult, some are easier. And that's really what life is all about. We go through different chapters of life. Some are easier, some are harder, some are longer, some are shorter, just like every Masechta. This afternoon, at this tremendous Asifa, L'Kavod Shem Shemayim and L'Kavod HaTorah, let us all make that commitment that we will make sure that we will learn every day, that we will make Shas part of our lives, and that, in a sense, we, as we wait for Tchias HaMesim, will revive the Torah in our lives and the lives of our children and grandchildren, the lives of our family, the lives of Klal Yisrael, so that Taka, we should be able to be Zeicha to the ultimate Tchias HaMesim and be reunited with all those that came before us, together with HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself.
They're all here, the doers, the leaders, the visionaries. Scores of Yidden from every walk of life converge to build, to learn, to celebrate, and accomplish. Here's where Kavod HaTorah takes precedence, where visionaries gather, activists achieve, and establishments flourish. The hallmark of Torah convention, where dreams are born, built, and solidified. A world that is merited renown as the Marine Bed of Tafshin Pei. Crown Plaza, Stamford, where the Torah world concurs.
It is a great simcha to join you here today at the greatest gathering of Kavod Shemayim in our times. On behalf of the Board of Directors of United Refuah Health Share, we wish all of them Mesaimei HaShas and Loim Dei Adaf Yomi a heartfelt Mazel Tov. May we all be zeicha to continued growth in Torah and Avodas Hashem, and merit being Mekabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu B'mheira V'yameinu Amen.
מסכתויס וספורים אחרים ולסיימום כשם שיעזרתני לסיים מסכת זו כן תעזרני להשכיל מסכתויס וספורים אחרים ולסיימום ללמוד וללמד לשמוע ולעשוש ולקיים את כל דברי סלמוד תורתך ביהבו ללמוד וללמד לשמוע ולעשוש ולקיים את כל דברי סלמוד תורתך ביהבו
gathering is more than a celebration. It is a powerful demonstration for the nitzchias of Torah that Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker.
Before the 8th Siyum HaShas in 1982, Rabbi Scherer sent Rabbi Besser, Rabbi Borchardt, and I accompanied them to the Felt Forum. That was before Madison Square Garden, way back when. And we stood at the previous Siyum at the Manhattan Center, and here we were looking at something which had over 5,000 people. And we looked at a stadium that just seemed so enormous and so immense, and the three of us were just looking up in awe. How are we going to fill this? And we came with all sorts of ideas. We'll put tarps over some of the seats and say that it's under construction, so we shouldn't be embarrassed. We didn't know what to do, and it was really a leap of faith to do it, but Rabbi Scherer really wanted to do it, really encouraged us to do it. So we came back to the office and we had a meeting about it. Rabbi Scherer had a great idea. He said, let's, people when they go to something, they want to feel they're invited. They want to feel they have somebody wants them there. Let's print tickets that say admit one. And I remember we printed 10,000 of these yellow tickets, say admit one, figuring that, from that, a few thousand people will come. Well, it turned out that Rabbi Scherer was right on target and all 10,000 showed up. And we had thousands of people standing outside with these tickets yelling, I've got a ticket, I can come in. And he really made a difference. Siyum turned out to be a huge success and the beginning of the explosion of the Daf Yomi to where it is today, where you can have 90,000 people coming to the Siyum. And it's just a few short years ago, 5,000 was considered woo. But that was the visionary that Rabbi Scherer was. He saw the potential, he saw the growth, and he encouraged that growth.
Back in late 1989, once the decision was made to go to the main arena of Madison Square Garden, Rabbi Scherer asked me to negotiate with the garden and to try and procure the arena for the Siyum HaShas. And there were one or two possible dates. It was in April. Make a long story short, I called up the garden. I found out that Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus had the arena and the entire garden for the entire week. So I went back to Rabbi Scherer and I gave him the bad news, but I said, Rabbi Scherer, I see that the garden is a Gulf and Weston building. I also know that Olympia York was involved somehow or another, Gulf and Weston, and that I read they were negotiating with Madison Square Garden to build a new Madison Square Garden over at the rail yards. So I said to Rabbi Scherer, perhaps if you call Moshe Reichman, maybe he might be able to have some sort of suggestion. Well, Rabbi Scherer called Moshe Reichman. 1 or 2 days later, the president of Madison Square Garden was over at Rabbi Scherer's office for lunch, and they met for an hour or so. He walked out. I ran into Rabbi Scherer. Well, Rabbi Scherer said, well, it went very well. He says the circus does have the arena. However, by contract, Madison Square Garden is permitted to buy out the circus. And he said to me, if you're ready to buy out the circus, we'll be ready to give you the arena. And guess what? We bought out the circus. And if you want to know the proof of this, look at the pictures of the roof in the 1990 Siyum, and you will see the trapeze, the swings, and the netting attached to the top of the roof, of the multicolored roof, the orange roof at Madison Square Garden. In fact, we made sure the elephants were fed right before the Siyum so that they shouldn't make any noise during the Siyum.
Of course, the overriding concern that he always had was to make sure that whatever we did brought out Kiddush Hashem. When we did the first Siyum at Madison Square Garden in 1990, which was the first time that anyone ever did something on this scale for a Torah event, the president of the garden, we were meeting and having what we called the postmortems afterwards. He said, Rabbi, I don't know why you don't study 2 pages a day and do this again in 3.5 years. Why do we have to wait 7 years? He spent his life building up the image of Torah Yiddishkeit in America. He wanted the world out there to respect the Torah community. That when we do an event, when we have something that's massive, that we're going to dot our I's and cross our T's. to make sure everything was planned and executed meticulously. People come January 1, Be'ezus Hashem, 90,000 people are going to walk into MetLife Stadium. And a good many people are going to think that this just happens. And Rabbi Shera taught us in everything that we did, not just in the Siyum HaShas, things just don't happen. If you want them to happen right, you have to do it like your life depends on it.
I very rarely saw Rabbi Shera cry. Once I saw him cry from joy when he walked into Madison Square Garden in 1990 and looked at 21,000 empty seats, and knowing that a few hours later, those are going to be filled by Jews who are going to come together to celebrate the Siyum of Daf Yomi and to say Shema Yisrael together. Rabbi Shera lived in difficult times. Rabbi Shera lived at times when people did not believe Torah could grow in the United States, but he didn't believe that. He had Rabbeim who taught him that Torah grows in every land, even in the United States of America. And he worked and fought to see that Torah can flourish here in so many different areas, in so many different ways. Rabbi Shera and Agudas Yisrael had worked to see, as they saw the Daf Yomi as an example, he used to point to 300 people in the Beis Yaakov and Borough Park in 1969, 1,000 people in Manhattan Center in 1975, 5,200 people in Feld Forum in 1982, and now in 1990, the main hall of Madison Square Garden, 21,000 people were going to come together to celebrate the Daf. It was a vindication of all his work. He cried in joy.
And as a result of this inspiration, Be'ezus Hashem, tens of thousands of new Lemdei Daf Yomi will be created.
Rabbi Shera was an ideologue. He believed in Agudas Yisrael. And he used to say that it wasn't just happenstance, coincidence, that Rav Meir Shapiro got up at the first Knessia Gedolah of Agudas Yisrael and proposed that all Yidden from all different backgrounds should study the same daf the same day, wherever they may be. That wasn't just coincidentally that this was proposed from the podium of the first major Agudas Yisrael function. It had to be, because the ideal of bringing Yidden together through Limud HaTorah, by everybody learning the same daf the same day, by everybody, whatever their backgrounds, whatever language they speak at home, whatever their customs and traditions, however they affiliate or identify, but nonetheless coming together around Torah, around the Blat Gemara. That's the ideal of Agudas Yisrael. Agudas Yisrael was built to bring Yidden together from all different backgrounds and to bring them together under the banner of Das Torah and now Limud HaTorah. Those are ultimately the unifying forces of Klal Yisrael. So this is Rabbi Shera believed very strongly, ideologically, that it was a natural that the Daf Yomi program was born within the framework of Agudas Yisrael, because that is the essence, the powerful, timeless message of the unity of Klal Yisrael under the banner of the Torah HaKadosh.
Daf Yomi brings together Jews from all factors, all factions, Chassidische, Litvische, more modern, less modern. Everybody learns Daf Yomi. And by learning Daf Yomi, it unites them. It brings them together. Rabbi Shera, who gave his life for the unity of Klal Yisrael, for building a Klal Yisrael, saw in the Daf Yomi Rav Meir Shapiro's dream of a project that brings everybody together.
He spent his life working for this ideal. He spent his life doing for the Klal, doing for the Yachid, doing for every individual Yid. And Daf Yomi Torah learning was highest on his priority list.
Rabbi Shera would have nachas ad beli dai to see the tangible presence of Rabbi Shera's vision in everything that's being done in today's Siyum is something I think is very inspiring.
Oh, would Rabbi Shera be shefing nachas as he sees the growth of the Torah community, the growth of Agudas Yisrael, the growth of Daf Yomi, the learning of Torah.
Now is the 21st yahrzeit of Rabbi Shera, and the legacy that he leaves us from the Siyum HaShas is an incredible legacy that all Klal Yisrael has to be grateful. Without him, all of this probably would not have happened.
in Tovshin Lamed Vov, 76. My father, Zechariah Levracha, was approached by a group of Balabatim that they wanted to make a stronger school. And he told them, listen, if you want to have a school, a koil is something you have to have. And they said, a koil? Kolel Chacham, that's for Bnei Brak and Lakewood, not for Mexico. The whole city turned around because people came to learn every night.
We started with a group of Abrechim from Lakewood. Eventually they left, and right now we have all Mexican Abrechim. Every time, more and more families, they are coming close to Torah.
My Rabbi Alav Shalom, Rabbi Avram Badush, he told me, I really want you to join my son Shmuel in the Daf Yomi. I really didn't know how to learn. I could read Hebrew very well, but I didn't understand the depth, the understanding of the Gemara until I started to go on the Daf Yomi.
I didn't grow up religious. I'm a Baal Tshuva. I grew up in a secular school. And every day, you know, this thing keeps me really religious.
I
learned Gemara in the yeshiva when I was younger. And so I really started when saying, you know, I want to do only Hazarot. And then I said, you know, let's just keep going. And I've been doing since, 6.5 years.
So this is my second time. I started 14 years ago.
Baruch Hashem, I've been studying the Daf Yomi for the past 30 years. I wake up in the morning, I go to shul, I daven, and immediately after davening, I open in my car the recording of the Daf Yomi, and I started to get acquaintance with the new Daf.
When I go on trips, I try to do it in the mornings. When I'm in Mexico, I have a seder with my brother, so we learn at 7:30, from 7:30 to 8 o'clock.
There's no being tired, there's no vacation, there's no Yom Kippur, no Tisha B'Av, there's nothing. You got to do the Daf Yomi.
To be honest with you, in business, I will not go into the office if I don't do the Daf.
Even though you can see I have a gallery here, and this is my parnusia, I make a living, this is only a compliment for me. Actually, learning Daf Yomi is the main task that I have in life.
In Mexico, it's something particular. Most of the Balebatim, they learn at night.
Over 90% of the Frum Balebatim, they belong to a shiur or they have a chavrusa. That's something that here in Mexico, they know that they have to be koivah itim la Torah.
The issue of koivah itim la Torah is a part of the system. They're the same way you wake up and you go to daven and you go to work and then you eat and you come back, you go to learn.
It's been my biggest task I made, and it gave me the biggest satisfaction too.
La razón por la cual con Ov, Bechol, si hacemos Matzeret, entonces ¿cuál sería el caso compatible?
You see all over the places 100 and 150 Balebatim learning. This is very, very, very gishmak.
Balabatim come home at 7 o'clock in the evening from their business, directly to here. They learn 7 to 9. Simchas on Sunday. A bar mitzvah, a wedding, it cannot start before 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock because they best to finish learning. So everybody lives 7 to 9. A bar mitzvah, middle of the week, does not begin before 11:15.
You could call the chuppah might be at 6, 7 o'clock, but the dinner doesn't start till 9:30, 9:45 because people are learning.
Even non-religious people would come to the Bet Midrash and learn. Maybe he's not Shomer Shabbat or Kashrut, but he would come and learn twice a week.
In the beginning, when I started, I had people that came without a yarmulke to Daf Yomi, took a yarmulke from the box downstairs, and came to learn a daf a day, Kodshem, and Zroim, brachas, Shabbos, and everything. They take from the box a yarmulke and come up to learn.
This is the most amazing community you've ever gonna see in your life. To have a family in New York, and they come here, they're like, what? This is Mexico? This Balebatim learning Torah? They don't understand. They wouldn't believe it.
They think that the Mexicans are still driving horses or donkeys or whatever. It's a completely ball game. Mexico is a city of Torah, it's a city of Daf Yomi, it's a city of good kosher restaurants, shuls, everything. This city, Baruch Hashem, doesn't miss anything. Has koileli, yeshivot, yeshiva gdola, yeshiva ktana, batei knesiot, and Baruch Hashem, this is going to be growing and growing more. Why? because it's learning of Torah.
travel for business all around the country. I'm a trial lawyer. I try cases all around the country, and I had a case in Columbus. And in Columbus, Ohio, in the airport, I noticed, because I would be there frequently, that there was a Frum TSA agent. It's a tall gentleman wearing a kippah sruga. And one evening, after I davened mincha, I had to catch a flight, and I'm walking through security, and the airport is fairly quiet. And out of the blue, he happens to be on duty, and out of the blue, he asks me, "Where did you go daven today?" I told him the name of the shul that I went daven, and he said, "Did they learn the daf?" And I said, "Oh, it's funny that you asked, because after mincha, they announced that instead of learning it later, they were going to learn the daf then, but I had to come to the airport and get on my flight." And he said to me, "You know, I went to shul this morning and I did not understand the daf." I said to him, "Oh, I have about a half an hour. Why don't I explain it to you?" And it was, I still remember, it was Davar Sheina Miskabein, it was a Gemara in Shabbos, it was a Machlokas Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon, and here I am standing on a TSA line, and all the other TSA agents are looking at these two people with yarmulkes, talking about something they have no idea, and they're looking, and I just looked at one of them and I said, "Oh, it's Jewish geography." I finished explaining to him, caught my flight, came home. Came back, on Shabbos I learned with Rabbi Eli Reingold, who's the Rosh Kollel, and I tell him the story. And he says to me, "You know, that is exactly what Reb Meir Shapiro had in mind." And he proceeds to tell me, Reb Meir Shapiro dreamt of two Jews who didn't know each other, who met each other on a train, had nothing in common, didn't know each other's names. The one thing they had in common was they had Daf Yomi. He said, "You have lived the dream of Reb Meir Shapiro."
Welcome to MetLife Stadium, where the safety of our guests is our primary concern. In the event of severe weather in our area, it's important that you fully understand the relocation plan for the stadium. Those seated on the field should calmly walk to the nearest tunnel, taking shelter in the service level, lining up on the ramps at the end of the stadium, or using the field stairs, and make use of the unoccupied seating areas behind the stage to take shelter. Guests seated on the 100 concourse, sections 101 to 149, please walk up or down the aisle to exit the seating area and take shelter inside the stadium. Please do not congregate near the exits as others are leaving the outdoor seating bowl area. Sections 207C to 220C and sections 232C to 245C. Please proceed to the nearest exit by walking up the aisle and take shelter inside the stadium. Sections 220A to 232A and sections 245A to 207A. Please proceed to the nearest exit by walking up or down the aisle and take shelter inside the stadium. Those seated on the 300 concourse, sections 301 to 350, walk up or down the aisle to exit the seating area and take shelter inside the stadium on the 300 concourse. Please do not congregate near the exits as others are leaving the outdoor seating bowl area. You should also use the space on the ramps at the end of the stadium. Guests seated in the suites levels should remain inside. Guests with disabilities and those who may require additional assistance in the event of an evacuation, please notify a member of the event staff. Elevators and escalators will be used during a relocation. Event staff will be available to guide and assist you as you calmly take shelter inside the stadium. Thank you for being prepared in advance to respond calmly in an emergency. Enjoy your time at MetLife Stadium.
I attended my first Siyum way back in the 90s when I first came to this country, and I never looked back ever since. This was, for me, a tremendous revelation. And I was mesmerized to see so many Jews gathered together in one place and to celebrate Limud Torah as a whole. This got me thinking really way back then in trying to participate in a much greater way than just coming as a spectator.
Everything we do is imbued with Yiddishkeit in some way. So I think the Siyum HaShas is a natural partner for us.
It's consistent with the bank's values, consistent with what the bank has done in the past, HaShas HaTorah.
That's a theme, that DNA continues to wind its way through what we're doing today. When we moved into this brand new office space, one of the first things that we built was a shul.
Every day there's a mincha. In winter is a mincha ma'ariv.
We have regular minyanim, we have shiurim constantly, different speakers, different rebbeim, rosh yeshivas, lecturers.
Most recently, they brought in Rav Asher Weiss, who gave a shiur after hours, and most employees stayed. It starts with our CEO, Yaakov Gate, who sets an example in everything he does, in learning by bringing in these learning opportunities with Rav Asher Weiss, by him having made a Siyum HaShas and making the Siyum in the bank. It shows his commitment to learning and his overall HaShas HaTorah.
Through learning the Daf Yomi and setting a goal out for yourself, it's about discipline, it's about continuation, it's about rigor in life.
It doesn't matter where I am in the world, like ready to go to sleep and I'm really tired from traveling across the country or to another country, I say to myself, like, I have to do this.
And I don't think I would have been able to put ourselves in a situation of success if I had not engaged in the Daf Yomi campaign some three and a half cycles ago.
We're really excited to go to the Siyum HaShas because at Cross River we believe in achieving goals that others would say are far beyond our reach. I mean, that's really what the Siyum HaShas is all about. When you sit down on day one, on January 2nd, to start learning for 7.5 years ahead of you and you say, I'm never going to get there. The Siyum HaShas is the answer to that. You're going to get there. Look at 90,000 people, over 100,000 people across the world are gathered to watch this today, to be a part of something that so many thought was unattainable, unachievable. It's not for me. This proves that it's really for everyone, and I'm excited to be a part of that mission.
My son was impressed at the last Siyum HaShas by Rabbi Fran's speech.
Prior to the last Siyum HaShas in 2012, I was totally frum person, raising a frum family, but not what I'd call very inspired or very, connected to learning on a daily basis. Probably drifting a little bit, and ruchnius would be a good way to say it. The last Siyum HaShas, Mom has changed my life. I would specifically point to Rabbi Fran's speech. Literally just went right through me, and Rabbi Fran suggested anything in life that has value, you have to have a plan.
And today, we must leave here with a plan.
So his plan, which he said a lot more dramatically than I'm saying, with 90,000 people in the stadium, was, tomorrow morning Daf Be'ez Brachos. If you really can't do Daf Yomi, at least do Amud Yomi, and if you can't do Amud Yomi, do Mishnah Berurah Yomi, and if you can't do Mishnah Berurah Yomi, learn a Mishnah a day. And then he yelled out, but something a day.
And if you can't learn then a daf a day, then make it an Omid a day, or a Daf of Mishnah Brewer a day, or a Mishnah a day, but something a day.
I remember sitting there thinking, I'm feeling a little detached, ruchnius-wise, kind of drifting, not very inspired in my life, and I do nothing a day, do no learning a day. So the next day I started Daf Beis Brachos. I had tried that before. This time I actually got through Brachos, did it on my own with the help of a Hebrew English Gemara a little bit. Made it through Brachos, made a Siyum with a bunch of my friends. And then the next Masech, the Masech Shabbos came. For the next 6 months or so, I was very much, on and off, very, very inconsistent. And I remember at my niece's bat mitzvah, going over to my uncle and saying, I don't think this is for me. I think I'm going to stop Daf Yomi. He said, no, you can't stop. This is a commitment you made, but you're doing it wrong. He said, I really think for you, you need to do it as part of a shir. Pick a shir and every day put it in your calendar, make it kavua. And so I remember looking around my community in Teaneck, New Jersey, and I was not somebody who was regularly going to Minyan in the morning during the week at that time. I was going on Shabbos, but not during the week so much. And I remember thinking I travel a lot for business. I have other commitments at night. I didn't think it would be very feasible at night. But I saw that in my shul in Bnei Yeshurun in Teaneck, they have a 5:30 a.m. Daf Yomi. So I got all excited. I said, great, I'm going to go to the 5:30 shir. It's the earliest shir in the whole town. Daf Yomi became a foundation for me. Through Daf Yomi, I became regularly going to Minyan in the morning. Then I would see a lot of people my age, unfortunately, who would come in and say Kaddish. And I thought to myself, why would I, Chas v'shalom, have to wait someday to say Kaddish? I may as well make sure to go to Mincha, with a Minyan, go to Marav with a Minyan. And Minyan, during the week became an important thing for me. And then one thing led to another, other chavrusas, learning other things, got involved in other chaburas. And so all these years later, as I feel a lot more inspired by learning, a lot more connected to Talmud Torah, I really credit the last Siyum HaShas with the starting point. I credit Rabbi Frand in particular with the words he shared, and my Uncle Alan, and above all, my father. My father's somebody who has been a very big supporter of Torah for many, many years, a very big supporter of Torah institutions.
Baruch Hashem, my children have transferred this to my grandchildren, and what better reward is there than seeing your grandchildren learn from their parents what you taught them. Our dedication is in memory of the previous generation, of my wife's parents and my parents. They were the pillars of our community, of our family. My father-in-law, Elimelech Chaim ben Yirmiyahu Halevi, till the age of 101, learned Daf Yomi every day. My father, who at the age of 80, who never went to yeshiva, decided in his retirement to start learning Shas, and at 88, made a Siyum HaShas. So it's been a tradition in our family, between my siblings and my children, that the daf and learning Torah, not necessarily the daf alone, but Torah in general, is both important to learn and to follow.
"96 years ago in Vienna, Gedolei Yisrael from around the world gathered at the Knessia Gedola of Agudas Yisrael, flanked by the Chavetz Chaim, the Imri Yemes, Rav Chaim Oizer, and others. Rav Meir Shapira proposed a revolutionary idea: to learn one daf of Gemara every single day. Klal Yisrael would be unified by Torah, literally be on the same page.
Tagtägliche stürmische Gules Gewaljes willen ins der Tränken. Aber der Daf soll se finden, dus lernen dem tagtäglichen Daf, hat ihn ständig von der weise Gewaljes herausgeraten.
Daf Yomi changed the world. Today, tens of thousands around the world have completed Shas. 2,711 blocks. One daf every day for the last 7.5 years. Look around. Take in the sight of 90,000 fellow Yidden as hundreds of thousands join around the globe. This is a historic moment, one we will remember for a lifetime.
While the celebration is communal, the accomplishment is individual. This moment is not about us, it's about you. That's why we're all gathered here today, so you can strengthen yourself, your family, and your communities
with a renewed commitment to Kviyat Itin LaTorah.
Rav Baruch Ber Leibovitz said, Torah is not like oxygen that gives life. Torah is life itself. Torah is our life, and we must live a life of Torah. Ki heim chayenu v'oirech yameinu.